Major tech companies announced huge deals over the long weekend.
That's right. And here to tell us what they exactly were and how they're affecting you is U.S. business correspondent Andrew Schmertz. Andrew, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Speaking of deals, by the way, I'm glad you had Maggie on so I could, buy that new apartment at Central Park South.
All right. Of course.
You got the money.
Right.
You got the money. Big pockets. Big Papa Andrew. Okay. Well, Price is Right is back. Call Grandma. She should be happy, right?
Yes,
Time Warner and CBS after weeks of a blackout.
A month-long blackout is over. Big Bang Theory returning. Somehow CBS is the #1 network.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after all that?
I mean, it's not the most inspired programming out there, though I like the Dome. But yes, so basically, after a month, CBS and Time Warner have finally come to an agreement. And basically, the betting is that CBS pretty much, cleaned the table on this one.
Really?
That CBS was initially getting 53 cents a subscriber. Time Warner and CBS wanted $2 a subscriber, and Time Warner said, that's it, we're pulling the plug on you. We don't know the exact numbers, but we think it's probably closer to what CBS wanted. And proving once again that content is really important. Time Warner got an earful over the last month or so. Both companies had a lot of blame here, but the deal is done, and so CBS is back on the air.
Now,
and along with Showtime, by the way.
Now, why do you think they didn't want to disclose the details of the deal? Were they afraid other people and other stations would try to get the same payout?
I got it first. I think the numbers are going to come out. Someone's going to start talking at some point, but I imagine they didn't want to disclose it right now for exactly that reason. They didn't, somebody wanted to save face here. Plus, the next negotiation, and it's going to be a very tough one between Time Warner, is with ABC and ESPN. So,
are you going to tell me Scandal could possibly not be on the air?
We will make sure that Scandal stays on the air.
So when did
already she's on the phone?
Yeah, she's like, hold on.
Don't even think about
Shannon's worried about Monday Night Football, and you're worried about Scandal.
Exactly.
About Scandal. And Revenge. That's another good show on ABC.
Very true.
Okay, so when did CBS's programming resume?
It was back on the air today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so CBS and Showtime back on the air. The moment they closed the deal, they lit them back up. Interestingly, by the way, even though CBS lost New York and some major markets, its ratings didn't fall.
Wow.
So it's a really interesting kind of dynamic here, possibly because it's the summer. And
That's
so
true.
television
No
viewing
one's
is
around.
down. There's not much viewing to go on. There's not that many new shows.
But you jokingly said Monday Night Football, but that's a huge ratings grabber for people. Do you think the NFL season approaching was something that helped them, okay, we got to strike this deal, we got to get this on the wrap?
No question about it. Time Warner was looking at a significant loss, at least temporarily, of people who would have gone to DirecTV, to others who had the NFL contract. So I think that's, and a lot of angry people calling. So I think that the NFL had to certainly drive that discussion, as well as the coming up NBA season.
Will this mean higher cable rates?
It's a really good question. I would say 5 years ago, no question about it. Time Warner will just say, that's whatever. We'll just charge it to, Shannon and Lola. We'll just add it to their bill. They won't even notice. But what's happening now is what we've been talking about quite a few times called cutting the cord. So there are places to go other than your cable company to watch this content. CBS has done deals with Netflix. If you watch The Dome, every other commercial, they're saying, watch episodes of The Dome streaming on Amazon's service. And basically that was sticking their finger in the eye of Time Warner. What they're trying to say here is that there's more options for consumers to go places. And I'm not sure that Time Warner will have the pricing power, like all the cable companies out there, to just unilaterally raise rates. Every time they've been raising rates, the number of people dropping cable goes up. There's a lot of alternatives out there now.
Wow. And now you speak.
And it's like Hulu, Netflix, all of these other.
Hulu, Netflix, DirecTVs. There's Barry Diller's new over-the-air service. There's, the networks are going to stream their content. So there's a lot of different ways of getting it now.
And I heard that this whole business of retransmission fees is expected to grow in the near future. Does that mean we're going to see a lot more of these type of disputes happening?
I think you're going to start seeing a lot of hostility between the content providers and the cable providers, the distributors, because of these retransmission fees. For the longest time, the cable systems didn't have to pay CBS or NBC or ABC or the stations. They just took the signal and, quote, retransmitted it. And the television stations were happy to do that because it increased their coverage areas. Now they're like, well, wait a minute. Why are those guys at ESPN or at Showtime or the Discovery Network getting two dual streams of revenue, advertising and subscribers? And they wanted a piece of that. And so they got a piece of that early on, and now they want a bigger piece of that.
Okay, let's move on to another big deal that happened over the weekend. Microsoft buys Nokia for $7.2 billion. Wow. Nokia?
Yeah, Nokia, exactly. Who here has a Nokia phone?
Who has a Nokia
Raise your
phone?
hands.
Who's had a Nokia since like the 90s?
Do you know it's the second largest selling cell phone still in the world? But here's the key.
Really? Where?
Korea? It's the
yes. Yeah, it's big in Korea.
And it's the low-end market. So it's not the smartphone section. But that's not why Microsoft bought Nokia. First, $7.2 billion, it's chump change for Microsoft. What they wanted here is, first, Nokia makes their Windows phones. So they wanted to own the hardware. They wanted access to the patents, which are part of the deal. Nokia has a lot of patent technology that they could exploit.
Okay.
So this was a bigger deal. And they wanted Nokia's CEO. Because the CEO for Nokia used to work at Microsoft, and now there's talk that he may replace Steve Ballmer from Microsoft, who announced, last month that he was resigning. So this was a total comprehensive deal here. They may have paid $7.2 billion for one person, but they do get a handset business that is not growing, that has not been able to compete against the smartphones, but look at Microsoft. They have the Windows Phone, which is on Nokia, and it's been a disaster. So honestly, why did Microsoft do this deal? I don't know, but a lot of analysts
on the surface, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it also was really cheap. They're using $7.2 billion, which is cash that they have stashed away overseas, maybe in some Monte Carlo bank or something, and they're never going to bring that money back here because of tax purposes. So what they've done is they used it to buy something else.
Nice.
So it really doesn't, it's still $7 billion, but.
Okay.
So what does it mean for the people who like to buy Microsoft or Nokia items?
It's interesting because
no one likes to buy Nokia items anymore, though.
Somebody out there.
Well, not domestically.
Someone say, thank God I could go back out and buy Nokia.
People in other countries.
Do you know that Nokia? They got their start making tires.
They do?
Really?
A little fun fact,
Tires
150
and
years ago.
technology. Imagine that.
Yeah. They went into the phone business around the 1920s. What this means is it's a big question because Microsoft has a lousy track record with consumer products. So the Xbox is huge.
Right.
But the Windows Phone has been bad.
Disaster.
Microsoft Surface, who has that?
No one.
No one?
They took it back if they did.
Exactly. So they have a bad track record with these products, but they are facing tremendous competition from Google, which is really their target here because Google, had bought part of Motorola to make their own phones. So, if you're Microsoft, you bought Skype, you got Nokia. Maybe there's a plan out there, but I think a lot of people are asking what it might be.
And we don't know. Not yet.
We don't know.
I'm sure you'll know by the end of the week. Come back and tell us, Andrew.
I will find out by the end of the day for you.
I know you will.
And it doesn't even sound like this is going to help them against other competitors because, like we said, besides the patents, maybe.
Here's what Microsoft needs. They need to invent something people want to buy. All right, and buying a company, like you said, who was big in the 80s, hello 1980s, your Nokia phone is calling you, is not going to probably do it. And as a result, Microsoft stock has slid dramatically today.
So on the surface, this was not a good deal, but there may be something behind the scenes that we don't know about.
That we don't know about,
and it could be a genius
enough.
Stroke eventually. Could be.
That's
Maybe
a little
probably
strong.
not.
I think it could be what we call in the business world accretive, meaning it could help the company.
What do you call it?
Accretive.
Accretive. Oh,
Yes,
cool.
accretive.
Maybe they just needed a tax write-off.
Maybe just it is a big tax write-off. Steve Ballmer was talking about simplifying the company last month. This doesn't simplify the company. This makes it a lot more complicated.
Well, that's why he's out the door now.
And that's why he's out the door.
Well, we'll see what happens with the new CEO if he does take over or not. All right, Andrew.
Andrew, you're always so good. Accretive. I like that. I'm going to use that.
I better make sure that's actually a word.
Let's go look that up.
It is.
I'm just going to work that into conversation this evening. Accretive.
Why not? Thank you, Andrew, as always. And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.